The following example demonstrates options for multiple firefighters who are low or out of air. Even though we showed disconnecting the 25-foot hose, it can stay connected if the RIT feels the added length is beneficial.
Alright, so we're going to kind of take this to the next level. Still, again, our primary method for addressing the lower out of air emergency is that universal RIT connection, universal air connection, or just a quick fill transfer valve, whatever you decide to call it. We're going to say the whole team though is in close proximity. So envision this. Everyone's just about on vapor, just about out of air. So if I was going to hook up to this connection with the transfer hose and wait for a full 10-second count, these guys might not have enough air to do that. They're basically almost to the point where they're sucking their face piece against their face, so they're almost out. So we have to somehow stabilize them. Yeah, with our setup right here, I have my extend air port where I could disconnect them off of their extend air and plug into my auxiliary port on mine. One disadvantage to that is you got to fumble with that connection. They need to take a deep breath, and you have to make sure that you can make that connection without something going wrong. Okay. Plus, looking up to myself, depending on the status of my air supply, I'm depleting it. If the pack is full, you could actually go off the pack. So we got a couple options here. I could do this, and if that was the case, I'd come up to Scott, and he's hooked up. Okay. I'm actually going to open mine up. 4-member RIT coming up to mine. I'm going to disconnect my port. I'm going to come up to Scott. I'm going to tell him, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Take another one if he's got it.
The purpose of directing the lower firefighter to take a couple breaths before disconnecting their MMR is to ensure they have enough air in their lungs to allow time for their hose to be reconnected to an alternate supply. If they're nearly out of air, this procedure must be done quickly and flawlessly.
Okay, I'm disconnecting. Come up here, make sure that port's out of the way. Now I'm pushing in. Take a breath. You got air? Take another breath. Good. Okay, take one more and hold it. I'm going to slowly release. Because here's the problem. If I didn't make that connection, take another deep breath, Scott. And I didn't make the connection, I slowly release it, pops free. He's still got some air to his face piece, and I can try again. So never release on this. I don't know if you can get a close-up on that, Troy. Never release on that port until he's got a couple hits of air and has a full breath of air before I slowly release in case it starts to pop free. I can actually push it back and make sure it connects. Remember, it's a push in, deep breath, and a release. To connect, it's just push in, and you're hooked up. So if I mess that up, he could lose air. So you got to make sure that you're comfortable and fluid with that operation. Okay, take a deep breath. Disconnect. I'm going to come back up to zone. Take a hit. Again. Again. Hold. I'm going to slowly release. Make sure it's not going to pop off. He's good. He's back on air. Now, so I got wood. He's low on air. My recommendation when you guys are operating with this, because the whole pack is a little congested. If we're working in close proximity with one another, Troy, can you see this again? If you can get a close-up on it. I want to get this pack out of the way. I want to have access to that extend air manifold and my extend air hose. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pop free right by the strobe light. Okay? I'm going to pop off the 25 foot. And I'm going to remove the whole bottle out. And I'm going to get the RIT pack out of the way. Now here's what that does for me. It gives me full access to that extend air manifold. So here's what I could do. If I had a firefighter that was without a face piece, I could get them on air right away.
Again, the RIT may choose to keep the 25-foot hose connected to prevent congestion of the group. If an unconscious firefighter will need to be connected to the face piece of the RIT pack, this would be advisable.
Okay? That might happen where they run out of air, they were entangled, they doff their helmet, and they're just laying there without a face piece. I might do that if that hose is compromised. So we'll talk about that operation. I know I don't need that because we got integrity of the face pieces on all three firefighters. I'm going to disconnect this one right here. Now, here's that extend air hose. If Scott's the worst, he still has connection on a full circuit from his extend air. Again, bottle's all the way open. I'm going to come up to his extender port and I'm going to hook up. Make sure that you keep this dust cap out of the way because that could actually mess you up with your connection. I connect in, take a breath, make sure you got air. And because his bottle is still on, he's got air, but we're just going to kind of show you that I can close him off right now.
Remember, we would never close off the receiving firefighter's SCBA in a real situation. We are only doing this to simulate the firefighter being out of air. The point of this demonstration is to show that two firefighters can breathe off the RIT pack while air is being transfilled to a third.
So you got a true test. He has no air in his bottle. Take a couple hits. He's now bled the air out of this hole, so see it? Okay. Bleeding the air out of the system. Just turn the air, bleed out of the system. You still might get a little bit of a ring, but now he's breathing off the RIT pack. So we just showed you right now, definitively he's breathing off the pack. So what I'm going to have you connect up. Same thing. Right now, these guys have air, but they're getting on vapor. Here's what we got to do. I still have to time that, so I'm going to come up to it. I'm going to say, take a deep breath, everything you got. I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to come up to this port. Take a deep breath. I'm not going to release until I know he's got air. I'm going to slowly release, just so we know, show you that we got two firefighters breathing off the pack. I'm going to shut down his, and this is by me closing off Scott and Ryan's pack. I'm just kind of simulating that they're bleeding air out of their systems.
Understand that the other option to stabilize firefighters awaiting an air transfill is to connect them to another member of the RIT. This puts them in an on-deck position until the lowest, most critical firefighter receives a transfill and frees up more room.
So both of theirs are shut down. Both of them are breathing off the RIT pack now. I come to this third firefighter. And remember, we're doing this simultaneously, so we have multiple firefighters addressing this. If we didn't have the room to get all close, then my next option is take my RIT firefighters, pair them up, one with Ryan, pair them up, one with Scott, and they're gonna connect in here while I'm just working on this firefighter. I'm gonna open up this guy's pack. See if you guys can hold your air for a second. Make your connection, and see if you can hear that air transfill. You hear it? 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000, 10. I'm watching the gauge at the same time. Right now we've transferred approximately 1,000, so I'm going to disconnect. Alright, so we've given this the down firefighter hit. Now, I just want to clarify. So, the only reason we shut down Ryan and Scott's pack was just to show you that they're truly breathing off of this rescue air pack when we were transferring air. So I kind of showed you that two firefighters could breathe off this rescue air pack while we were transferring air here. We would never intentionally shut off their packs in this process. We're just trying to simulate that both of them were completely out of air. So their bottles would normally be open. So I'm going to open up Ryan's bottle again. Again, this would normally be open. And we have him right now at 2,000 PSI, but you envision that right now he would normally be at basically 0. So I'd have him turn a little bit. I'm going to open up that connection. I need to make sure, because we are so close to each other, there's a little bit more orchestration that needs to take place as far as moving these firefighters around.
To allow for more flexibility, the RIT has the option of using the 25-foot transfill holes to perform this procedure.
I don't know if you can hear the air transfilling. And again, I don't want to just let this go because I still need enough air to transfill into Scott. So I'm going to watch where I know he's definitely got enough air, and then I'm going to disconnect. And it's always a good habit to reconnect that up. Now, same thing. If he feels he can make this connection himself, he would do that. Because now we want to get him off of this RIT bottle so he can breathe off his own. But let's say he's stressed out. I'm going to have you turn this way a little bit. Say he's stressed out. I'm going to say, Ryan, take a breath. Exhale. Take another breath. Hold. And disconnect. come to his port, connect up, take a breath, Ryan. Again, one more, and hold. Hold, slowly release, make sure that's not gonna pop off. Exhale, take another breath. Here's an example, it pops off. I never want that to happen. If it pops off, I want it just to pop off a little bit, and by me still holding it, I can make the connection. He's got air. Multitasking. While I'm doing that, then another RIT firefighter is topping off Scott. All right, so I can disconnect him off of this hose without any disruption of his normal air supply.
Understand that this firefighter would have received an air transfill before he would be disconnected from the extend air hose on the RIT pack.
Other use for this extend air hose. Let's say Ryan's a RIT firefighter, Scott's down firefighter waiting for air. It's two guys. He can disconnect off the extend air, take this remotely. You saw the problems we have when we disconnect from our own extend air manifold and have to hook up. We're disrupting the air supply. He could take this line right now, hook up to himself. It's off of his T. He could take that, hook onto himself. Now, Ryan's hooking in. Let me know when you got it. I'm shutting down Scott's bottle again. Okay?
You slide back a little bit, Woody?
So it's simulated. I wouldn't do that in the real world. I wouldn't do that. So can you turn this way a little bit, Ramon? I wouldn't shut down anybody's bottle in the real world, but I'm just trying to show you that now he's bled the air off of this system. He's breathing off of Ryan's bottle now. The advantage of this line, you can see all the air being bled out of his system. He's definitely going to be, once that air stops ringing, he's definitely breathing off of Ryan's air supply. This gives us more room. This is a longer line than our extend air or our mass mounted regulator hose, and there's no disruption to either face piece because we hooked into that secondary port. We don't have to worry about disconnecting and losing it. So that's what this hose can be used for as well, and now it gives me a lot more room to work independently with this and top off other guys. Okay?